So I wanted to quickly discuss JJ Games, a very popular website which has just closed due to lack of sales and lack of demand. And is this a canary in the coal mine for the retro gaming collecting industry? Is this a sign of the times that people are no longer collecting video games? How does this fit in with the casual gamer collecting? Are people still buying retro video games? And how is this going to affect prices? Is this the canary in the coal mine for both the collapse of collecting and or the collapse of pricing of retro games in general? And there's a few good arguments for one. Let's stick with the fact that they're closing. And this was a major retailer at one point. This was one of the kings of online online retailers, right up there with Lukey Games at one point. So on that note, you could say, well, this is clearly, this means demand is dying. And perhaps that's right. We have seen demand go down, overall, at least since around the peak of 2016. So after the peak of 2016, demand has dropped a little bit, and it's been more selective. So you've seen demand drop in NES games, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis games, but it's also increased in N64 games and PlayStation 2 games. PlayStation 2 and N64 are really driving the market right now. GameCube is really taking off as well. So I wouldn't say demand is dying. I would say demand is, collecting in general is evolving, and it's evolving on two fronts. It's that age, it has to do with age, really. Those who grew up on the N64 are now of the age that the Nintendo collectors were starting back in 2010, where they now have disposable income. These kids are now between 20 and 30 years old, and they have disposable income, and they're now doing what I started years ago, around 2009, 2008 really. I started quite young, and they're getting that nostalgia factor, and they want to go and play those old video games that they grew up on, and or buy them to play as a casual player, and or collect them because of the nostalgia. So that is one thing that's happening. Did that contribute to JJ Games' downfall? Well, let's have a look at JJ Games, the site itself. So JJ Games specialized in cosmetically damaged games. I know that from a fact because I bought from JJ Games many times, and apparently a large portion of his supply came from GameStop, who sold JJ Games in bulk their cosmetically damaged games. And if you went on the website, this was my biggest complaint with JJ, and why I didn't buy from him too often is because you'd go on the website and you'd see nothing but cosmetically damaged games. How his site worked was, if he had 10 copies of Donkey Kong, he'd have all 10 copies up, all priced based on the damage level. If it had a 10 out of 10 damage, you'd be paying $10. If it was a little bit damaged, you'd be paying, $20, whatever, right? You had that pay scale based on damage. But most of them had damage nonetheless. That was the specialty there. And to collectors, we don't want damaged games ever. For any game. I don't even want my Wheel of Fortune for the NES to have damage, and I hate Wheel of Fortune, and I hate that I have it. I wish I hadn't have bought it, but it came in a bundle. So that's one flaw to JJ Games that Lukey Games doesn't necessarily have. Lukey Games is a risk, which is also why I don't recommend them. But let's use eBay for an example. If you wanted good quality games, you wouldn't even bother checking JJ. I never even bothered with it. I would go straight to eBay, straight to somewhere else, a seller online, a local seller. Hell, I might even take my chances with Lukey before I even bothered with the JJ Games website. Most of the time, the only time I got a JJ game was because it was on eBay and he had a picture of the actual game and it was a half decent quality. So that did play a role in JJ Games collapsing. And that leads into what was the main buyer on JJGames.com? Who was JJ's main market? JJ's market was the casual gamer, not collectors. Just the casual guy, oh man, I want to play some Donkey Kong and go on JJ. I just found out about it some way or another. I'm not looking for a cosmetically perfect game. JJ's got a good one. It's real cheap. It's cheaper than eBay. It's cheaper than Lukey Games. It's cheaper here. Oh, it's cosmetically damaged. I don't care. I just want to play some Donkey Kong. Right? That was JJ Games' main buyer, and that buyer is also disappearing. That it comes back to the retro gaming market is evolving. It's not just evolving in age, it's evolving in being that casual gamers are now finding alternatives. Back in 2010, there wasn't very many alternatives other than ROMs on your PC. Well, I don't want to play ROMs on my PC, and many casuals didn't want to play ROMs on their PC either. But now there's so many other options. There's your NES Classic mini editions, your Super Nintendo Classics, your Sega Genesis Mini, your PlayStation 1 minis, your TurboGrafx Mini coming out soon here in 2020. There's so many alternatives now. And you can get them hacked, you can put ROMs on them. And maybe that's the fix. That's what the casual gamer wanted to begin with. Man, I just want a Super Nintendo Classic Edition and I'm good to go, right? The other thing amongst collectors in general is collecting is also evolving. Most collectors are not going for full sets anymore. Those who were going for full sets have their full sets. Me, I was going for a full set of the Nintendo, for example, and the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis and the N64. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm getting an almost full set, but most collectors are now just getting the games that they want. And I fall into the category being the games that I want, that I'll actually play, and the games that I think are cool, so I want them just because they're cool. I'm never going to play them, but they look cool, they have some history behind them. I'll pay for the option to play them once over the next 50 years. I'm talking the Silver Surfers out there. I will buy Silver Surfer, and I'll pay a pretty penny for it, just to have the option to play it in case a friend comes over, just for jokes. You just play for jokes. The game sucks. It's hard as hell. And, maybe I'll play it. Maybe I won't. I don't care. I want to look at it on the shelf. I do enjoy that. I enjoy looking at Silver Surfer and saying, man, that's a funny game. That's a cool game, man. That game was so hard. And then you have flashbacks. Think, I remember Angry Video Game Nerd made a video about that. I remember that. That was a good video. Showed how, the game was hard as balls. It's funny. It's a joke. Game gets you mad. You get angry. You get pissed off. So there's a market for that too. But is there a market for Wheel of Fortune for the NES? And in 2020? I don't think so, guys. I really don't. And it saddens me to even say that, to be quite honest. So yeah, the market is evolving, and this has affected JJ Games in general. Is JJ a canary in the coal mine? They might be, but I don't think they are, to be honest. It's just a testament to the fact that the market has evolved, and nobody's buying what many of the JJ games were. Many of his stock was Wheel of Fortunes. Nobody wants those games anymore. So, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I had a couple other points, but I don't want to keep the video going on too long. What do you think? Is this really the beginning of the end? Which wouldn't be a bad thing, if prices come down. I'm still looking for Dragon Fighter for the NES, $500 game, $400, $300 game. I don't even remember anymore. Prices fluctuating so much. I wouldn't mind getting that game for $50, so if prices come down, let me know. What do you think? Leave a comment below.